Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I have a very interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This hulking beast is the Maxace and Midnight Cat Studios Sandstorm V2. Wow. This gigantic monster, not just because it is a big knife, it is thick and it is a titanium integral, which is ridiculous. This is, to this day, the largest integral, or integral, however you'd like me to pronounce that I have ever seen. What does that mean? For those of you who are new to this term, the handle scales are milled from a single piece of titanium, not sandwich construction, as is the case with a lot of knives. One piece of titanium. Wow, this is a mega beast. We're going to talk all about this today. Thank you so much to Maxace Knives for sending this out for me to review. I really appreciate that. Thanks to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and measure this thing. The overall length of the Sandstorm V2 is coming in at, oh my gosh, very nearly 10 inches, almost 10 inches on the dot. I know that it doesn't look like it, but it's because the camera does this thing like this. But truthfully, the overall length is like 9.85, something like that, 9.85 to 9.9 inches overall. And the blade length on this thing is coming in at very nearly 4.5. It's about 4.4 inches, with the cutting edge coming in at 4.25. Wow. Size comparisons. Let's put this into perspective. How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1, the Ontario Rat Model 2? Yeah, it's huge. Show you the thickness real quick between the, let's just do it with the Rat. Holy moly, look at this freaking beast. That's ridiculous. I kind of have a weird thing with overbuilt knives, right? They're kind of fun. So this is gonna be kind of a roller coaster of a review. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and Spyderco Para 3? Yeah. Okay, another example of how huge this thing is. Last but not least, the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. So there you go. Want to do thickness up against the Bug Out? Yee. Polar opposite. This is the exact opposite of the Bug Out and probably the philosophy of carry, or philosophy of use, to steal that term from Nut and Fancy. Okay, let's do carry profile up against the Spyderco Para 3. I think you guys have seen, it's thick. This is a thick knife. We're talking Medford level thickness. 187 to 190 thousandths roughly on both the blade and the titanium on either side. I mean, I know it's all one piece, right? But if you want to look at it like that, it's super duper thick. Height, length, up against the PM2 and Para 3. Yeah, it's taller. It's taller than both, easily. This is a gigantic knife. It's also longer, right? It's bigger in every way. Let's measure the blade stock thickness and get an exact measurement so you guys kind of know what we're looking at here. I'm sure it's 190. Yeah, it's going to be 190 thousandths, right? Oh my gosh. I don't even know what I want to guess on the weight. I don't know. It's got to be at least 10 ounces. Yeah, 10 ounces on the dot. 9.98. Okay, 10 ounces. Huge, right? Not going to be comfortable to carry. It's just not going to be. I mean, listen, if you really love big knives, there was a time where I EDC'd a Medford Marauder because I just loved it. It took a while, but I finally was like, this is too big. I still love that knife, right? I still love overbuilt knives, but that's the reality we're looking at here, right? Unless you are somebody who works outside all day, every day, and is used to carrying a wide variety of different things that maybe rotate depending on the job that you're doing, and you got some heavy-duty work pants, this isn't going to work. If you're one of those people, then, you know, go ahead, knock yourself out. There might be a place for this, right, in your rotation. You may not notice it as much if you're used to carrying larger tools, right? If you got a tool belt that you're taking on and off, right? Maybe 10 ounces really isn't that big of a deal to you, right? But for other people, I mean, like me, like a regular person, this is way too big. It will be uncomfortable in pretty much every circumstance. But it is cool, right? I just want to kind of call it, you know, for what it is. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check on this guy. There's not much hardware. That's one of the beautiful things about the Integral. Got my tools. Tools are very inexpensive, very recommendable. You can find them down in the My Tools section. Flip this guy over here. I believe, I think all these are T10, or a lot of them. The pivot is a T10. The screw back here holding in the stop pin, which has to be the case because of the, you know, the way an Integral is. Yeah, that's also a T8. The screw holding in the LBS / tension adjuster is a T8. The pocket clip screw is a T8. And then curiously, the two screws holding in the gigantic lock bar insert are T6. But that's fine, because why would you ever take those out, right? Yeah, very minimal. It's an Integral. Integrals kind of just win the whole like ease of disassembly thing, because really you're just, if you need to do some type of maintenance, you just pull the pivot out, take the blade out, right? There's really nothing to do with anything. I don't know why you'd need to take the pocket clip out. So that's, you know, that's fine. Very cool. Okay, let's talk about this thing. First off, the first thing I want to say, this knife makes an awesome, talk about like, if I need to do a video about like the top 10 best sounding knives, because this thing is so big and it's an Integral, there's so many clicks and clacks, right? Oh my gosh, that is awesome. That sound that it makes. It's very satisfying. It's awesome. Also, I have to hand it to them. This knife, for being so big, is actually very easy to disengage. There's a really weird spot on this thing, and I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to take the blade out. I thought about doing this before the review, and, you know, trying to tell you guys what I thought. I'm going to take the blade out during the review, and we're going to take a look at this together. I'm going to actually take a look at it for the first time, so we can figure out what in the heck is actually going on. And depending on how easy the blade is to get back in, this video might be edited. There we go. Sorry. We have to remove the pivot so that the blade will actually come out. Okay, so anyways, we've got the blade out here. And what I'm feeling inside of this thing when I'm deploying it, the thing that I wanted to talk about, is it almost felt like there were two different areas where the detent ball was falling into. And I'm realizing now that one of those areas is actually, it's an area we're going to talk about later in the review. It's where the secondary lock, or the lock pin, which is back here, goes through. And you can see here there are little ramps. So as you close this thing, right, and open it, you're feeling it slide over those ramps, drop into this large opening hole, slide back out of it, go across the face of the blade, and finally into the detent hole in the closed position. And it makes for kind of a weird feeling in the action. Take a look at the bearings here, right? It is very, very, very smooth. It's actually impressively smooth. And then you can see in there that there are actually steel, they're like fixed in place, the steel surfaces that this sits on. See if we can push that back in there. It actually went back in like really, really easily. This is actually very easy to take. Oh, what came out? Oh no, they're not fixed in place. The little, I wondered, I was like, that would be way too easy. We're gonna put this back in, and the video will likely be edited so that I can get it in and quickly move on with the review. Okay, so now that everything's almost back together, I wanted to point out that what I found is, you know, at first I was like, oh, it's going to be real tricky because of those steel washers. They're falling out with the bearings. I realized that the screws holding in the stop pin were likely creating increased tension, even though this is like a really stiff piece of titanium. It's creating ever slightly more tension between these two pieces right here and making it really hard to push the blade in. So what I did is I loosened one of these screws, and it actually was much easier to put back in. And then I used this little pivot alignment tool. Really, honestly, like a pen or something like that will work just fine. But it's made out of aluminum, which is great, much softer than the titanium or the steel. And it went back in there just fine. It was actually pretty easy to put back in there. It's interesting, they have a little ceramic ball under where the pivot screw goes back in, and I wonder if that's to prevent over tightening or something like that. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, but it was very interesting. Do I have the wrong, I think I pulled the wrong one out there real quick. Yeah, there we go. So I had a T7 pulled out there, but anyways, pay attention and use the right screws because you definitely don't want to strip this. This is the tension I was talking about. This tension right here on the stop pin is actually squeezing either side of the titanium at the top together and making everything, you know, suck down really tight. So I would recommend, if you have this knife, right, untighten one of those. If you're trying to push everything back in, I would honestly untighten them before you pull everything out, because I just pulled everything out and didn't untighten. I just kind of wrenched it out of there, which is fine. It works and it didn't hurt anything, but it's going to be much, much easier to simply loosen those stop pin screws and then put everything back in. So this actually came apart and back together really, really easily. Integrals, they're all the same idea, but they're always a little bit different around the pivot area. Do we still have the same action? Yep, and then past this secondary area right there, it's basically falls shut. How's the lockup? Totally fine. Yeah. Interesting. It's always fun to get inside these things. So anyways, what I was talking about with the action, what's happening here. Here, watch, ready? First detent ball interaction right here. It is up on the face of the blade. Now, oh, ramp, hole, ramp, back out. That's part of what's giving it the sound when it comes out of there, right? So, again, ramp, hole, ramp, back down, and detent into the closed position. I did that backwards. Let's do it from here, right? Detent ball in the lock bar, first ramp, into the hole for where the pin goes, back out, now on the face of the blade, and finally down into the closed position. This makes it a little bit weird because you have a double clutch. If it was only one, if it didn't have to pass over that hole for the stop pin, then that would be it right there. But no, it actually gets stopped again, kind of, but it's on a ramp, right? So you can whip it down like this, right? You can close it and just sort of the weight of the blade, but it's going to get caught on that, right? It's just got it's like a proprietary double clutch that has to be there. I mean, it doesn't have to be there, truthfully. We'll talk about why. But okay, that's what it is. And by the way, yeah, it still came back perfectly centered, no issue. I love the rock pattern on this titanium. With some knives it works and other knives it doesn't. On this knife, this thing is a monstrous, it looks like a caveman tool, right? The whole thing. And I think it really adds the character of it. I think honestly, it wouldn't look as cool without that. I wish I could clean the blade off a little bit more because the blade is actually really, really nice and I want to be able to show you guys how this looks. But yeah, this all looks great. The hardware's nice. The fit and finish on it, everything is just great. They have to kind of be pretty precision. Integral knives, it does not matter if they are made out of the same material, right? M390 in titanium, it should only be no. An integral knife costs way more to make. It definitely does. They also have to be perfect when they cut this from the block of titanium. Because if they mess it up, the entire frame is trash. Not just one side, one scale. This massive, thick block of titanium is trash, right? So they have to get it right. And they got it right. I mean, obviously, everything looks great, right? Ergonomics. Everything is actually really comfortable except for one thing, and it's this guy right here. They've decided to create this sort of adjustable, it's a lock bar stabilizer, right? So you have the over travel, but it also stabilizes the lock bar from going in and out, you know, and up and down. It's kind of like what Rick Hinder does. But this can be, the screw is just holding it in, but you can actually twist it and make the tension on the lock bar tighter so you can adjust the action without adjusting the pivot, right? So if you get this all the way back out, it's just like, now it's like really, really smooth, right? Okay, that's kind of neat, but you can also adjust the action with the pivot a little bit. This kind of seems really unnecessary, and it's creating two issues. One, that thing's going right into your palm. Two, it is directly in the path of the pocket clip. This is the worst spot to put this, right? You're gonna you're gonna fight it. You're gonna fight this in and out of your pants, right? I mean, the pocket clip, they could have remedied this a little bit by making the pocket clip shorter and with a little more of a bill or a ramp, right? But still, I would argue that, okay, just do some kind of LBS disc, fine, and then don't make this gigantic adjustable head. It's neat, but nobody really needs that. You're just gonna set it once and forget about it. And the pivot, you can set the pivot and do it there as well, right? So that's weird. Let's talk about the blade. They have this awesome, and I think there are a few different versions of this out there, right? There's not all of them have the rock pattern. I just really like this. Number one, the thumb studs are gigantic and placed exactly right, and they are very comfortable. This knife is actually pretty easy to open and close. You'd think that it would wear on your hands like crazy. No, not really. You can use the thumb studs to reverse flick it. Sorry, that was a bad example. Let me get it so you guys can actually see. Did I adjust the tension too much? All right, well, let's use the thing I was critiquing there. There you go. You can do the reverse flick. You can do the forward flick. I think you can actually use, you can kind of use the fuller. Kind of. Not really. It's pretty shallow. But these are in the right place, and they're easy to engage, and they're not sharp or anything like that. It's actually pretty easy on the thumb. You can also, if you want to, you know, you just wheel it out like a regular person. The blade has this big, aggressive fuller in it. The flats are polished, what looks like DLC. I don't know that for sure. It is sort of a little tiny bit chalky and kind of feels like DLC. It may not be, right? It's not really necessary, right? If it's not truly DLC, okay, because this is M390. Which is extremely stainless. So it does look nice, though. The combination of the polished areas on the flats, right, with the sort of chalky matte on the inside of the fuller and the bevel going down to the cutting edge. Really, really cool. It's a very aggressive, almost, I mean, it kind of reminds me of the SOCOM Elite blade, just really aggressive. Jipping's in the right place. Like I said, holding onto this knife is really comfortable other than this thing right here. You could probably, considering, no, I don't think so. The lock bar insert is not, as far as I can tell, yeah, it's definitely not. The lock bar insert is not an over travel stop, so you need this. You probably, in fact, should we test it? I wonder if this is possible, because I have some other LBSs here. Now let's find out if we can take this out of there and add a different one in. It looks like it's pretty big. I don't know if those are actually going to fit. In fact, I think I can probably confirm right now that those are just a little bit too big, but I'm curious, right? This is such a weird knife, and it's not super duper available. I think it might be interesting to take this out for everybody on camera and just see what we can learn. So this is the screw that's holding the thing in. And then there's something in there that actually keeps you from over tightening it, but this is a pretty robust screw. The most robust LBS screw I've ever seen. Oh yeah, there's a little washer down there, some kind of thing. So it looks like you're gonna probably be forced to use their thing, right? I don't know that you can take a hinder. Yeah, it's not big enough. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to use this. I'll let you guys look at that, right? That's the thing that keeps it, you know, it kind of squishes in there so that you don't end up having the steel rub against this part, which is probably titanium. Let's find out. Yeah, this titanium part doesn't rub up against the titanium. There's probably parts of this where I'm obviously, it's guesswork, right? And I may not be 100% accurate. But it's interesting how they did that, right? I mean, the screw just goes down in there, and then you can adjust the tension of the. I mean, I'm saying that it's like keeping that washer's in there to keep it from, like, you know, being over tightened, but it's also obviously how the LBS is able to be adjusted once the screw is all the way down, right? Because it can sort of turn into that. I don't know if we gasket or washer, whatever you want to call that, but how do we have this? It's a little bit tight. It definitely does operate the way that it's supposed to. It definitely does what it's supposed to do. It's just in the way of this. Like, just in the worst way possible. It is directly in the path there, right? So, okay. I just wanted to see. I was curious, and I thought it might be fun to do that on camera. Anyways, the edge actually comes down to a reasonably thin, and I mean for a knife that is so big and monstrously thick, right? It is not. This knife is not, does not have a sloppy edge. The edge is absolutely capable of slicing, no problem, right? Paper cut test doesn't prove much. I just want to make sure that the edge was actually sharpened correctly, considering how thick it is. So it is definitely capable, and it's got a nice tip on it. The cutting bevels are actually very, very even on both sides. I don't know why they had to put Sandstorm over here. I think that looks weird, right? I know everyone's thinking of the song. Me too. That's what I think every single time I look at this knife, right? But yeah, huge stop pin. You guys probably saw that. Gigantic, nice shouldering there. And that stop pin definitely needs to be big for how much blade is slamming into it every single time, right? This is a tall, long, thick blade. Moving around to the backside, I love that they just left this all rock pattern. This looks beautiful. Back here, you can see the Midnight Cat Studio, which is the collaboration, and I believe they're the ones who designed it. I think Maxace manufactured it. That's a nice place to put your logo, honestly. It's kind of out of the way of everything else. I just really wish that they had left the Sandstorm off of this. I think this knife is pretty recognizable and is probably only going to be purchased by people who will, you know, or the interest in it will be from people who know exactly what it is after seeing it once. I think this is just going to be a mega recognizable knife. What is this thing back here? This is, you know, when we talk about overbuilt knives, a lot of people have different definitions. Some people, you know, for them, it's overbuilt knives are knives that are really thick. Overbuilt knives that are, you know, are knives that are incredibly capable considering their construction, right? Overbuilt knives are just big knives, right? I mean, there is no exact one definition. Individual people just define it how they will. But if you're the type of person who defines an overbuilt knife by capability alone, right? Oftentimes you do get some robustness with it. The frame lock is enough to lock this thing out for anything you might do that's a reasonable task with a knife, right? That frame lock, the geometry on it's good. There's no play. It's definitely going to stay in place while you're using it, right? A lot of people say, well, it ain't no cold steel triad lock. Okay, yeah, it's not. A frame lock isn't, right? It's the triad lock and the strength of it is massively overkill. You would have to be abusing your knife to get the most out of the triad lock. But for those people who measure it that way, there is a pin. That's what this hole's for. Once that's screwed in, it's much like what we've seen from the Artisan Cutlery Proponent, or before that, I actually saw it from Crusader Forge knives. Once that pin's in place, there is no question that this thing, the lock, right, because we have 3 separate points of contact, it is absolutely, whoops, sorry about that, absolutely as strong as the triad lock, right? It's going to stand up to the exact same amount of abuse. It's not going to disengage. None of this is going to break. The blade will break before anything else, which is the same situation most likely with the triad lock or the shark lock or the scorpion lock, right? All the strongest locks in the world. The problem is that it's just inconvenient to do that. So if you really, really need this pin, my question is, what are you about to do with it, right? What the heck are you about to do with a knife where that's necessary? It's kind of neat, but it's definitely gimmicky, right? It's kind of like this thing. It's like, okay, you probably never use it, right? But in the most extreme of circumstances, that pin is there. And once it's screwed in, it's held pretty firmly in place, right? You could also, if you wanted to, you could probably take this thing out. And is there a, What they should have done is milled a little hole in it so that you could put it on your keys or something. But, you know, okay, you could just take it and leave it out of the knife separately so that it doesn't, you know, you don't lose it or whatever. The pocket clip's actually not bad. It's really, really shallow, right? Should have been some kind of bill. If they insist on this, it should have been shorter with more of a rise. Honestly, what they should have done, just make this a regular LBS like I was saying. This clip should have a little bit of rise at the end, making it easier to get in and out of the pocket. As this thing is right now, not only will it be cumbersome in the pocket, you're going to have to fight this thing just to get it in your pocket. It's just going to be the case, right? It's there's nothing redeemable here. It just is what it is, and it's not good. The lock bar insert is massive, absolutely massive, but it's doing its job. Knife is locking up something like, I don't know, 25% or so, and it is definitely soft. There is no flex, movement, or anything. Absolutely not. Disengagement's nice and easy, and like I said, plenty centered. Okay, so guys, this is pretty straightforward. This is a really cool knife because it is so stupidly overbuilt. I don't know that anybody really needs exactly this. Like, a massively overbuilt, truly overbuilt titanium integral frame lock with a pin lock to add to it, right? This is one of the most, I mean, obviously it's got to be one of the most durable folding knives I've ever seen, but at, you know, the cost of, and I don't mean like the price of it, but I mean like lugging this thing around on your person every day, right? It would literally be easier in most situations to just carry a fixed blade. I think that, you know, if there is somebody out there who has a very, this like fits a very specific role, maybe there is one person, right? Or maybe less than 1% of the people watching this video, maybe you actually could find a place for it. Then great, you know, here it is. Here's your thing. For everybody else, it's just too big of an object, but it is very interesting. This thing kind of exists in its own unique space right now in the knife world because there are very few monster integrals out there, especially at only what this comes in at, right? They do exist, but they're really, really expensive, and many of them are made by American companies. If you didn't know, this is not a US-made knife. This knife is made overseas. So the price on it is roughly the same as what you'd expect from a Riot integral. I'm not talking about the James Brand one, but like the Jack 2. That's a $450 knife. Believe it or not, this thing is $390. That is definitely one of the least expensive large integrals that I have ever seen. The quality on it's really good. It's really impressive, right? $390 is still a lot of money, right? So a lot of people are going to go, $390, it's big, it's heavy, yeah, it's an integral and it's premium materials, but why? I mean, yeah, that's what a lot of people are going to say. If you're like me, I really like big, crazy, nonsense knives. I just do. Not because I feel like they're gonna offer some unique utility in my life. I just like them. It's fun. It's almost humorous, right? I feel like the designer was like, I'm just gonna have fun with this, right? I mean, there was some care taken. They were definitely paying attention to the ergonomic lines, the blade geometry, right? Function of everything. This is a well-made item, but I think they were also having fun with it, which is something that I appreciate because 2021 has been so boring overall. There's been some cool stuff, but compared to other years, 2021 has arguably been the most boring year in the knife world since I've started collecting, which was almost 13 years ago. I welcome this for the weird, crazy thing that it is, right? If you don't like huge or massively overbuilt knives, right, you don't value the whole titanium integral thing, then there's nothing here for you. You're not going to see any value in it. But if you do like that stuff, this thing is unique. This thing is its own thing. I mean, this is one of those things that, you know, if you just love it and want to add it to your collection just because it's a weird, crazy, you know, marker in, I think 2021 will be partially remembered for this weird thing, right? I don't even know if this design actually debuted in 2021. It may have actually debuted in late 2020, but it is definitely the craziest thing that I have handled this year. And honestly, it probably would have been the craziest thing that I handled last year. It's neat. If you love big monster overbuilt knives, you like the titanium integral thing, I would say, yeah, if you can track one of these things down, you're really going to like it. For the other 99% of people who are watching, this video hopefully was just entertainment. $390 buys you a lot of knife, right? We're in Chris Reeve, Rick Hinderer territory. Well, if we're talking Hinderer, still fairly overbuilt, capable, and much more reasonable for carry, right? There are better options for knives at $300, $390, $400 price point, right? That are just more convenient, more utilitarian because their size is meant for more like, actual use. Not that this thing can't do it. I'm sure that this thing will still be around after everybody's extinct, right? It's after humans are extinct. This thing is definitely built to stand the test of time. It is using bearings though, so it's not going to be as tough as something using washers. And I just mean like crap getting caught inside the, if that happens, then just unscrew it and pull it out, clean them off, put it back in. It's fine. You're going to be okay. But yeah, this is cool. I wanted to kind of make this a special review because this was definitely one of the more interesting knives that I've taken a look at. But I wish these were readily available. They are not super duper available. I will provide links where I can. They might periodically come in and out of stock. You can also message Maxace Knives or Midnight Cat Studios on Instagram and see if there's a way that they can get a hold of one of them for you. I'm not sure if that would be the case or not. This is still cool. The reason this video is so long is because I was particularly very excited about this. Despite pointing out design flaws and things like this, this is definitely one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had with a knife this year. This was fun, and it makes what I'm doing here, it makes it fun when stuff like this periodically is around, right? Or presents itself. It's just, it makes for an entertaining video. So anyways, guys, I think that's going to be pretty much it. This is not going to be going on any recommended knives playlist. This is rare that I do this. Not going to be recommended. It's obviously not a budget knife, right? But it is definitely one of my favorite knives that I have ever handled. It's going on my favorite knives of all time playlist, despite it being ridiculous, despite it having design flaws. It's just fun, and I legitimately enjoyed taking a look at this thing. Thank you again, Midnight Cat Studios, not Midnight Sun, that's a different company. Midnight Cat Studios and Maxace Knives. I really appreciate that. Guys, that's going to be it today. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.